Good morning, teachers and colleagues. Today, I'll be presenting Journal Club on lutetium therapy in metastatic CRPC. Coming to the first article for today, this article, lutetium 177 PSMA 617 for metastatic CRPC, was an original article published in NEJM, also called as the Vision Trial, published in June 2021. So, quite a recent article. This journal has the highest impact factors among urology journals. Let us get introduced to the topic first. So prostate-specific membrane antigen is a transmembrane glutamate carboxypeptidase or a folate hydrolase. It is a transmembrane receptor. It is highly expressed on prostate cancer cells, and it is an independent marker of poor prognosis throughout the course of prostate cancer and across anatomical sites. And high expression of PSMA has been found to be independently associated with poor survival. Coming to lutetium, lutetium is a rare metal which delivers short-range beta particle radiation selectively to PSMA positive cells. The mean path length of it is 0.7 mm. The meaning of this is the surrounding radiation to the surrounding tissues will be very less. It is highly specific for the tumor with limited damage to tumor tissue, other tissues. It has prolonged intratumor retention. It has rapid renal excretion, because of which the toxicity is limited to non-target organs. The basis of lutetium therapy is based on the principle of theranostics. Theranostics means therapeutics plus diagnostics. In this, we can see that the target cancer cell has already, the binding molecule is already there. This is the PSMA. And this is the radioactive compound, which is the lutetium, which along with the linking molecule, that is the 617 ligand, is used to attach to the PSMA receptor. And this is taken inside the cell and then causes cell death. I have a short video for you to quickly understand how the therapy works. Here we can see the prostate cancer cells and the PSMA receptors on the surface of the prostate cancer cells. From the vial of the lutetium, which we get from Bhabha Atomic Research Center, we get various radionuclides. Here we can see that the PSMA targeting molecule is attached to gallium first and injected IV to the patient, and the patient then undergoes a PET scan. Depending on the PET scan findings, we can see that there will be multiple sites of uptake of the gallium PSMA scan, which is a diagnostic modality initially. After the diagnostic modality is done, then lutetium is used, which is a therapeutic modality. This will go and attach to the PSMA receptors, and then in turn, after uptake into the cell, will kill the cancer cells. This is how the PSMA therapy works. So coming to the trial per se, the Vision trial was a prospective, open-label, randomized, international multi-center trial conducted across 84 sites on North America and Europe, and it was a phase 3 trial. It was intended to be completed over slightly over 3 years. The funding for this trial was basically by Novartis. Two companies of Novartis like Endocyte and Advanced Accelerator Applications funded this, and 4 authors which was a part of the trial were also employees of the Novartis. Coming to the eligibility criteria for the trial, all adult males who had CRPC with at least one METS on baseline CT, MRI, and bone scan were included in the study. Disease progression after both one or more androgen receptor pathway inhibitors like abiraterone, enzalutamide, and at least one taxane regimen like docetaxel or cabazitaxel, who had at least received 2 cycles were included in the study. And the patients had to have a PSMA positive metastasis. Patients who did not have a PSMA positive metastasis or had poor performance status of more than 2, life expectancy less than 6 months, and inadequate bone marrow and KFT, LFT functions were excluded from the study. So this study started out in May 2018 with written consent of the patient's independent ethics committee approval at each and every site and independent safety monitoring by the committee. After 2018, after 1,100 patients were analyzed, after applying the inclusion and exclusion criteria, about 1,000 underwent diagnostic gallium PSMA PET scan. This PET scan was carried at least 1 to 6 weeks before the therapeutic scan was carried out. After the PET scan was carried out, there were some patients, 954 patients who had PSMA positive lesions. Again, inclusion criteria was applied, and 831 patients underwent randomization in 2:1 ratio. So one group received lutetium plus standard of care therapy, and other group received only standard of care therapy. So when they did the diagnostic gallium PSMA PET scan, PSMA positivity was defined as uptake which was greater than that of the liver parenchyma, as here we can see in the figure, 1 or more metastatic lesions of any size or in any organ system. While PSMA negative was defined as uptake was equal or lesser than that of liver parenchyma, lymph node less than 2.5 centimeters, metastatic solid organ at least 1 centimeters, and any bone lesion which had a soft tissue component of at least 1 centimeters. So they were divided into two groups, in which both groups, one group received lutetium in addition to standard of care. So what was standard of care? Standard of care included approved hormonal treatments like abiraterone, enzalutamide, and bone protective agents like bisphosphonate, radiation, denosumab, and glucocorticoids. And these could be modified according to the treating physician. The therapy which was not allowed was chemotherapy, systemic radioisotopes like radium, immunotherapy, investigational drugs, because they did not know the safety of this drug combination with lutetium at the start of the trial. So coming to the study design, as I have explained before, after randomization, both of the patients were already receiving the best standard of care, and after 2:1 randomization, one of them received lutetium therapy. There were stratification factors for both groups, where LDH levels, presence of liver metastasis, performance status, and novel androgen axis blockage using abiraterone and enzalutamide were considered to see whether this could affect the end results. All the patients who had received the lutetium received supportive care also in the form of soda bicarb mouthwashes, pre and post procedure hydrations, prophylactic antiemetics, and allopurinol in cases of high tumor burden. Here we can see in the trial design, the dose given for lutetium was 7.4 gigabecquerel or 200 millicurie. The lutetium was given 6 weekly. As you can see, it spans to about 7 months. 4 cycles were compulsorily given for all, and after 4 cycles, if the patient showed evidence of response or had residual disease and good tolerance, only then additional 2 cycles were given. If there was any delay, delay up to 4 weeks or any intolerance, then dose could be reduced up to 20%. After receiving this 6 cycles, the patient could continue with the standard care, or they could switch to chemo, or they could get any best supportive care possible according to the treating physician. Regarding the follow-up of the patient in this trial with imaging, the follow-up was not done with PET scan, it was done with CT or MRI along with a bone scan. So initial first 3 imagings were done every 8 weeks with CT, MRI, and bone scan, and after that every 12 weeks. So the entire protocol usually spanned more than 1 year, and the study design follow-up went up to 24 months. In addition to the imaging of CT, MRI, and bone scan, other things like performance status, quality of life, physical examination, serum testosterone, PSA, and other hematology and biochemical parameters were monitored at every follow-up. Here we can see after randomization, after applying the various eligibility and exclusion criteria, about 520 patients received the lutetium therapy, and about 200 patients received the standard of care therapy. So while evaluating the results, the primary objectives which were kept in mind, endpoints were the imaging-based progression-free survival, which was the time from randomization to documented disease progression or death, the overall survival of the patient till death. There was other important secondary points which were used, like overall response rate, disease control rate, the time to first symptomatic skeletal event. In addition to these important secondary endpoints, there were other secondary endpoints like the safety, the health-related quality of life, which was evaluated using various instruments, progression-free survival. Here we can see that progression-free survival, imaging-based progression-free survival has also been included in secondary endpoint as well as an alternate primary endpoint. So this was a change which was carried out after 1 year into the trial because of high attrition rate of the patients. So this was shifted from a secondary endpoint to a primary endpoint in between the trial. Clinical progression, performance status more than 3, and PSA progression, and ALP and LDH progression were also used as secondary endpoints. In this study, there was something called as analysis sets. All the efficacy outcomes which I told now were analyzed in intention to treat populations. That is, even if some patients were lost to follow-up, once they were included or randomized in the study, they were included in the end analyzed sample. Analysis of overall survival was based on all patients who had undergone randomization and had consented to the study. But the analysis of the other primary endpoint, like the progression-free survival and the other secondary endpoints, was done only on some small subset of patients who had undergone randomization after March 2019. That is 1 year after the trial began. So after, as I said previously, after the start of the trial, there was a high fallout rate. And so patients had to be educated about the benefits and the harms of lutetium therapy from March 2019 with increased education measures used, and this reduced the fallout rate. and hence the original planned sample size was also needed to be increased to maintain the statistical power of the subset. The statistics which were used in this trial, they used a one-sided significance level of 0.025, which was converted to a two-sided p-value during end data analysis. In one-sided significance level is usually used when they want to evaluate only the positive benefits of a certain intervention, and when they're that is why only one-sided significance level was used. The power which was used, that is the 84% and 90%, was used to detect the true positive rates at a hazard ratio of 0.67 at a one-sided confidence interval of 0.04 and 0.25 in both the primary analysis. The main test for comparison was the log rank test, and time to event endpoints was analyzed using chi-square test from stratified Cox proportional hazards model. Kaplan-Meier methods were used to estimate the time to event endpoints using median, percentile, and confidence intervals. There was something called as the Hochberg procedure which was used in this trial, which was unique. In this, it is used when multiple testings and multiple comparisons are made. It is used to adjust for various falsely detective positive rates which can occur. Every test every trial which takes place is bound to have some amount of false positive rates. To reduce this false positive rates, and since this intervention is going to have large scale implications and there should not be any error in this, they did not want any doubt whether there is any benefit of adding lutetium to the existing protocol or not. So that is why they use something called as Hochberg principle to reduce false detection rates. So coming to the results of the trial, here we can see that the patient characteristics, the median age of the patients is around 70 years. Most of the mets are to the bone, 90%, and to the lymph node in 50% of the patients. The median PSA level of all patients is around 77 to 90. The median time since they were first diagnosed as CA prostate, it is 7 years. And most of the 60% of the patients had high tumor grade, Gleason score 8 to 10. And even 40% had undergone previous prostatectomy. 97% had all of them had received first line docetaxel in both the groups. So when we come to the imaging based progression free survival, which is a primary endpoint, we can see that the median progression free survival of lutetium therapy is much higher than that without lutetium therapy. It is 8.7 as compared to 3.4. It has a hazard ratio of progression of 0.4. That is, this 0.4 times less likely to progress to for image-based progression as compared to the only standard therapy. When we see the overall survival, even this has a longer median overall survival as compared to only standard therapy, which is 15 months as compared to 11 months. They used the subset analysis for progression-free imaging-based progression-free survival to a small number of patients. After all the patients had completed the lutetium therapy, they could go into chemotherapy. They found that the incidence of patients who received post-protocol chemotherapy after dropping out of all this randomization was higher in control group than in the lutetium group, which is more patients in the lutetium group had longer beneficial effect of lutetium and had longer progression-free survival even after completing the therapy. Coming to the secondary endpoint, the time for first symptomatic skeletal event was longer in lutetium group, that is 11.5 months, almost 1 year, as compared to half year for only without lutetium therapy. When lutetium was given, they found that complete response, that is resolution of all metastasis, was found in 9% of the patients, while in control group without lutetium, nothing as such was seen. And partial response to lutetium was seen in 41% of the patients, and control group 3% of the patients. As I had said previously, there was multiple stratification factors which were applied, whether using abiraterone, enzalutamide, LDH levels, presence of liver mets, performance status, age, whether they had any significance on patients receiving lutetium therapy. Here they found that none of these factors played any role in the benefit of patients who received lutetium therapy. So whether the patient has liver mets, whether his LDH is raised or no, whether he has received enzalutamide or abiraterone, whether his performance status is 1 or 2, whether he is more than 65 years or not, it doesn't matter. The lutetium therapy, these factors will not play a role in the benefit of lutetium therapy. There was some significance of race for Asian patients, but the sample which was studied was very less to make any comment on this. Similarly, for progression-free survival, also similarly for overall survival, we can see that there is no difference other than race. The sample was very small. In liver metastasis, we can see that the forest plot is slightly going towards the significant level, but still not reach the significant level. So coming to another secondary endpoint, which is the PSA response, we can see that patients who received the lutetium therapy had more than 50% decline in PSA in almost 46% patients as compared to 7% patients, which is almost 7 to 8 times. And also the more than 80% decrease was found in 33% of the patients receiving lutetium. This is the quality of life score which was used. Patients receiving lutetium had better quality of life for longer time, about 6 months. They had lower pain scores, which was also significant. The safety of the duration of response for lutetium, each cycle was every patient received an average of 5 cycles. The duration of exposure of every patient was about 7 months. The average duration of each cycle, it took about 1.5 months. And the cumulative dose was 37.5 gigabecquerel, which was much less than the permissible safety limits. So when they analyzed the adverse events were analyzed up to 30 days from the last dose which was given, or the standard of care which was given. The basis of using 30 days was that the T half of lutetium is 7 days. So they found that most of the adverse events were grade 1 and 2, very minimal in toxicity. And only 50% of them were severe, more than grade 3. Most of the adverse events, about 40 to 38%, were like non-specific, like fatigue, dry mouth, nausea, which could be managed symptomatically. While grade 3 adverse events like anemia, thrombocytopenia, and lymphopenia were more common, and these were also on the lesser side, about 10%. There were certain adverse effects in lutetium patients who received lutetium therapy, like patients had bone marrow failure. As I said previously, they had grade 3 events. They had pancytopenia. They had some patients developed SDH, and some patients also developed intracranial hemorrhage, which led to death. When we see system-wise adverse events, we find that when we usually follow up the patients of lutetium, when we check CBC, KFT, LFT, CBC is more likely to be affected because of pancytopenia and bone marrow suppression with more grade 3 events, while KFT, LFT is less likely because hepatotoxicity and renal effects are very rare. As you can see here, only 3%. We should also follow the patient with ECG because QT prolongation can also occur in some patients. Rarely it has been found that lutetium may give rise to secondary primary malignancies of the skin or cause death due to intracranial hemorrhage, but it is a very rare reported event, which is less than 1%. So Vision trial was a phase 3 trial. It had an advantage of imaging criteria that PET scan has been used only once initially during gallium PET scan, which was used for diagnosis. And then all the conventional follow-up has been with CT, MRI, and bone scan. So PSMA targeted lutetium therapy prolongs overall survival, delays imaging-based progression. It has benefits on secondary efficacy outcomes and has low rates of adverse events. But this trial is not without its limitations. There are certain limitations like lack of placebo control. The patients who had not received lutetium, that is in the other group, they were being lost to follow up because they wanted to have either lutetium or they wanted to get another treatment because just they were not satisfied with standard of care. So if the patients had received placebo, maybe initially they will not have to change the trial design or change anything between the trial. So lack of placebo control was a big limitation of this study. It did not compare with any other specific treatment like after docetaxel failure like cabazitaxel or any other immunotherapy. There was no double blinding. Even the analysis and the participants knew what they were getting. Upgradation of imaging based progression-free survival was changed from a secondary endpoint to primary endpoint midway. Adverse effects were defined up to 30 days. That is why there was underestimation of toxicity because long-term toxicity was not defined. But since the patients in the lutetium group got treatment over longer period of time, there was overestimation of adverse events in the lutetium group. And I already stated, the 4 authors were employees of Novartis, so there is also potential conflict of interest, although they have stated it is not so. So this, I conclude my first article.
So if anyone want to ask any question in the first article, because after the second, third, probably we may forget the whatever the question, or so if anyone want to ask anything regarding this article, so you can ask. So if anyone is not asking, then I can ask Jen few questions. One is as you say in limitation that the patient who was not received this lutetium,
Yes,
they
sir.
didn't offer any treatment, right?
Standard of they were already receiving abiraterone enzalutamide, so
So
they
standard
were
of care they were receiving. So they were receiving some treatment.
yes,
But
sir.
how
They
this
were
can be
receiving.
limitation?
Sir, because the reason for this was lots of patients went on their own to private centers and they wanted to get lutetium therapy. That is why the loss of fallout was very high.
So
That is why they had
no,
to.
this is not a limitation of the study. You cannot you can do a study, either you will give some placebo or the standard of care or a newer therapy, right?
Yes, sir.
So they were giving the standard of care. Standard of care, that means he was receiving what is the standard treatment now this kind of patient receive.
Yes, sir. Even after he had progressed on that, sir. Even after he had progressed on that, the patients were knowing that the other group is getting something else, which they were not getting. So
Okay.
they started going elsewhere. So they had to be educated that this is just a investigational drug. The benefits are not known. So that is why that time they continued the therapy.
Right. And why they have randomized 2:1?
Sir, that they have not specifically mentioned, sir, but mostly because of they wanted sample size strength to get an adequate power for data analysis, sir.
Okay.
Sir,
Fine.
sir,
Yes.
I can ask.
Yes, please.
Yeah, Dr. Jain. So I think you mentioned that the follow-up was carried out using CT and MR.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So do you think that is a limitation?
Sir, in real world practical scenario, that might not be a limitation because anatomically the lesion will still be seen. On CT, how it will also be only the positivity uptake will be different on the PSMA PET. So just the decision to give the PET or no was decided by PSMA PET. Other than that, that patient can be followed up radiologically for anatomic resolution, whether functionally the SUV has reduced or no, whether the PSMA uptake has reduced or no, and whether that has any significance on the metastasis, whether the metastasis has resolved, that has not been answered, sir.
Dr. Zain,
Yes, sir.
this is Dr. Anurag Yadav from Agra. You said some of the patients had complete response, about 10%. And
Yes,
my question is, how long did the complete response last? And if there was a recurrence, is there a chance of a second dose, second course of this therapy?
Yes, sir. The trial is recently concluded, sir, and published in July only. So there were there is nothing which has been done in this group of patients for receiving lutetium. There have been other trials where patients who have failed lutetium have been given actinium or other therapies, sir.
How long did it last?
So that has not been
not been recorded.
These patients have been followed up for 24 months, sir. So that for 24 months that complete response has been there, but they have not mentioned after 24 months the protocol after it was over how it has how much it has lasted.
Jain, whether those patients who received lutetium therapy, they were continued on the standard of care, say
Yes,
for
sir.
patients
Yes,
who are
sir.
receiving some other therapy, that being continued?
Yes, sir. They were continued on standard of care therapy, or they could go to chemo, or if they are not able to tolerate anything, they could get only supportive care or symptomatic care if they wanted.
Okay, so if they are receiving the ADT being continued during this time, and whatever they are receiving, that being continued, right?
Yes, sir. Even abiraterone or enzalutamide, if they are getting, they can continue that also.
Okay. Dr. Vishwaji sir, whether you want to ask any questions, sir? Uday sir, you want to ask any question regarding these trials?
Sanjay.
Sir.
Actually, Jain.
Yes, sir.
Hello. So now you're going to present the therapy trial, okay?
Yes, sir.
So what is the difference between this trial and that trial?
Sir, first of all, the number of patients is different. That is a phase 2, and this was a phase 3 trial. Therapy is a phase 2 trial, and also that was directly compared to cabazitaxel. After docetaxel failure, patients were given cabazitaxel or lutetium. So that is the main difference, sir.
So what is the benefit of doing that study if you compare with this one? Because here you are only comparing with the standard of care, and there they are comparing with the cabazitaxel.
So that was mostly a study for safety and side effects, sir, because it was a phase 2 trial, and they included cabazitaxel in it for.
So in this group, what was the standard of care?
Sir, in this group, the standard of care was abiraterone, enzalutamide.
Did they include the taxanes or any chemotherapy?
No, sir, no chemotherapy, sir. No chemotherapy.
They just compare with the only the hormone anti-androgen therapy only.
Yes, sir. Hormones. Both group of patients were getting this, sir, anti-androgens.
Yeah. So they did not include actually the taxanes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Because combination was not, the safety data was not there whether how the other drugs will react. So they did not include anyone concurrently. They didn't give any chemotherapy along with lutetium at same time.
Yeah, in therapy they actually included cabazitaxel. So this is like a complementary study. You can say that.
Yes.
That is the advantage of that trial.
Okay, Jan, then you can move to the second presentation.
Sir, can I make a point, sir?
Yes.
Sumit, sir. So what I studied in the article, sir, in the table where Dr. Jan sir showed that thing.
You are not audible clearly.
Okay, sir. Is it clear, sir?
Yeah, carry on.
So they had said they are not using any taxanes in their regimen, but in the table they had shown both the patients they have received one regimen or two regimen, and they have also showed patients, a significant number of patients, like almost 97 or 96% of patients received docetaxel and cabazitaxel as well. So that was also one of the limitations.
That is the previous therapy, right? They have not used concurrent.
Previous therapy. That is what. So if you try to extrapolate the finding,
therapy, I mean to say what Uday sir was asking, whether they have used the standard of care in terms of chemotherapy along with lutetium therapy. So they have not continued chemotherapy along with lutetium therapy.
Yes, sir.
They have continued anti-androgen along with lutetium therapy, right?
Yes,
sir. So I was thinking, if you try to extrapolate the findings of the study to apply, then we will not have a homogeneous population, because there are so many patients who have received 1, so many patients who have received 2, so many patients who have received 3. So we do not know whether lutetium is.
Yeah, that is difficult, because in real world, practical situation, if some patients have not tolerated chemotherapy beyond 2 cycles, so you have to stop it, right?
Yes.
They had a subset analysis, Sumit. They had a subset analysis. Whether the patient received abiraterone enzalutamide, whether they did not receive abiraterone enzalutamide, it did not change the outcome for the patient.
Did not change the outcome.
Lutetion. It did not change the outcome.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. Coming to the second article. This article was published in Lancet in Feb 2021. This also has a high impact factor of 79.3. This comes from Australia and New Zealand. Lutetium PSMA 617 versus cabazitaxel in patients with metastatic CRPC. This is a therapy trial, which is a randomized open label phase 2 trial. So it was carried out along 11 centers in Australia, which was also an unblinded randomized and phase 2 trial. The eligibility criteria for this trial was metastatic CRPC. All the patients had been previously treated with docetaxel. They had good lab and biochemical parameters, good performance status, PSMA positive disease. That is, SUV max in the prostate had to be 20, and the SUV max of all the metastases had to be more than 10. And all the patients had to be FDG avid as well as PSMA positive for being eligible into the study. So study started at around slightly before the Vision trial, that is in 3-4 months before, that is Feb 2018. And after applying the exclusion-inclusion criteria, about 200 patients were randomized 1:1, about 100 to each almost, so receiving cabazitaxel, another receiving lutetium therapy. So after applying all the parameters, intention to treat analysis was used for this also, irrespective of patients who had been lost to follow-up from between. And stratification for this was done using disease burden less than or more than 20 sites, previous treatment with abiraterone and enzalutamide, and the study site at which it was carried out. Cabazitaxel was given at dose of 20 milligram per meter square every 3 weekly intravenously for maximum of 10 cycles. While lutetium was given in this, the dose of lutetium is different from that in the Vision trial. Here they have started with a higher dose, that is 8.5 gigabecquerel, and this has been reduced slightly, like 0.5 gigabecquerel with every cycle, and the frequency is the same, that is every 6 weeks, and max cycles are 6. But when you see the cumulative dose of this trial and the previous trial are the same. Then after each PSMA PET therapy, SPECT-CT was done after 24 hours to see the lutetium retention in the target tissue and off-target tissue. If the patient had no PSMA or low PSMA uptake at site of metastasis, treatment was suspended. That is, it might have suggested a good response or proper or a resolution of metastasis. But if treatment recommenced with lutetium when the patient had been progressing with PSA or symptomatic or radiological progression, and if a patient was meeting the eligibility criteria. So follow-up was same like previous study with blood parameters, PSA, CT scan, bone scan every 12 weekly, pain scores and quality of life scores were used, and these were done every 3 to 12 weekly. So the primary endpoints in this trial were PSA response rate, progression-free survival, overall survival. Secondary endpoints were adverse event reporting, objective response rate, and pain intensity reporting. The statistical analysis was also similar, in which intention to treat analysis was done. Type 1 error, that is alpha, was 5%, and it allowed about 3% of missing data to be permitted. Sample size was 200, which provided 80% power. Chi-square test was used for analysis of the statistics, and Kaplan-Meier curves and log-rank tests were used for time to event analysis. Hazard ratios and Cox proportional hazard regression, similar like the previous trial, were used in this also. So when we come to the results, we see that about 80% of the patients had more than metastasis at more than 20 sites. PSA average was about 93 to 110. In the previous trial also, it was around 80 to 90. We can also see that 46% of the lutetium group went on to complete the entire protocol therapy, with average cycles being 5 per patient. While cabazitaxel group, 36% completed all 10 cycles of cabazitaxel. The date cutoff of July 2020 was triggered when on reaching the target of 170 PSA progression-free survival events after median follow-up of 18.4 months. When we see a PSA response in this PSA response has been used as a primary endpoint. In the other trial, it was used as a secondary endpoint. So about 37% of the patients had a PSA response of more than 50% in cabazitaxel group. But more than 1.5 times, that is 66% patients in the lutetium group had a PSA response more than 50%. So as I said previously, patients who had PSMA negative when PSMA PET scan was done at every follow-up, they were negative, like 7 patients were negative. So the treatment was stopped for them. So they were found that these patients have responded exceptionally well to the PSMA therapy. But after in eventual follow-up, they found that 6 out of these had to recommence the treatment of lutetium therapy because they progressed, and 3 went on to complete the 6 cycles. 2 patients had radiological progression, and 1 patient is still undergoing the lutetium therapy. When we come to the PSA progression-free survival or the radiographic progression-free survival, it is defined as the time for PSA progression or increase in PSA of more than 25% from the time of randomization, or more than 2 after 3 months. So, and radiographic progression is defined as new CT and bone scan lesions according to RECIST criteria and prostate cancer working group criteria. And if the patient required any non-protocol cancer treatment other than what I have mentioned here, or patient has died from any cause. So here we can see that the PSA progression-free survival was significant, like p-value was less than 0.05, and in lutetium group. And hazard ratio was 0.6. That is, the progression-free survival had a 0.6% times chance than the cabazitaxel to get the progression of the disease. Progression-free benefits were not equal over the time, as we can see. The progression-free benefits almost stagnated at around 6 months, but after 6 months, there was widening of the curves and more apparent 6 months after getting the lutetium therapy. The median progression-free survival on lutetium was 5.1 months, and at 1 year, the 19% of the patients receiving lutetium did not have any progression, as compared to 3% on cabazitaxel. the objective response rate was almost 50% with lutetium as compared to 25% with cabazitaxel. And the analysis of overall survival is to be done after 170 deaths, and it is still yet to be published because only 90 deaths have occurred in these populations. As compared to previous study, similar findings were found as regards to adverse events, where most of the adverse events were grade 1 and 2, non-specific, like fatigue, pain, dry mouth, and nausea. The important adverse events were thrombocytopenia and neutropenia, almost 11 to 4%. And lutetium therapy, as compared to cabazitaxel therapy, more patients in the cabazitaxel therapy had to discontinue the treatment because of their side effects profile of the drug. So when we see the therapy trial, it is the first reported randomized trial which compared lutetium with the standard of care therapy after docetaxel progression. So stringent imaging criteria, like patient had to be both FDG and PSMA positive. It resulted in 28% of the patients screened, they were excluded from the study. And they found that lutetium therapy took longer time to pain progression. It had greater improvement in quality of life symptoms like fatigue, social functioning of the patient, and insomnia. Patients who were unsuited to receive cabazitaxel could be offered lutetium, and it had lesser grade 3 and 4 toxicities as compared to the cabazitaxel group, except thrombocytopenia. But this also study had certain limitations. Since it was a phase 2 study, it had low number of participants in each group, only 100. The patient withdrawal from cabazitaxel arm before this has been documented, and the reason for this has not been given. Patients were withdrawing from the cabazitaxel arm without receiving any treatment. Results were focused on biological activity like PSA response and progression-free survival, rather than on direct measures of patient benefit like quality of life measures and overall survival. It may not be applicable to men whose patients are not showing both FDG and PSMA PET imaging positivity. So according to this study, PSMA showed better activity and safety and better patient-reported outcomes than cabazitaxel in men with metastatic CRPC progressing after docetaxel. So this concludes this trial. I have two screenshots of another similar trials which were done. This is in the Journal of Urology. From this trial came from Germany in 2018, in which they found that the PSA decline was similar to this previous trials which I have shown, about 40 to 32%. Progression-free survival is also 4 months, and overall survival was almost 1 year. And they found it to be lutetium to be safe and effective in late-stage metastatic CRPC. This another recent Journal of Urology article recently from Weill Cornell, New York, showed long-term follow-up and prognostic factor analysis in men with MCRPC receiving lutetium. Here they studied certain factors which are associated with longer overall survival in patients receiving lutetium. They found that the scoring done before the therapy using this scale, CALGB scale, the decline of circulating tumor cells after getting the lutetium therapy had a positive correlation with the patients having better outcome. Higher PSMA PET SUV max at beginning had a better outcome. Higher administered activity of lutetium, like more than 8 gigabecquerel, had better outcome. And patients having BRCA1, BRCA2 mutations were found to have better outcome in with lutetium therapy. This article is just a supplement. It is yet to be. It is not a trial as such. As sir had previously asked me, what if lutetium fails in patients? There are other trials in which other beta emitters and alpha emitters have been used. So this was a trial from European Urology from 2020. In this, they have told that actinium they have attached as a radioligand to the PSMA. It shows measurable anti-tumor effect after lutetium failure in late-stage metastatic CRPC. So after getting the first-line therapies with abiraterone, docetaxel, and enzalutamide, the options are multiple. Standard of care as of recommendation is cabazitaxel, or according to the mutation analysis, pembrolizumab or PARP inhibitors. But lutetium therapy is the upcoming therapy, and though it has not been approved by FDA as of now, but there will be in times to come, the lutetium might be approved, and also other radioligands might be approved for the same. The cost at SGPGI for this lutetium therapy, if we go according to the standard dose which was given in Vision trial, is 200 millicurie. So the cost is about 55,000 per cycle. They give 6 cycles, and instead of spacing out by 6 weeks, we space out by about 8 to 12 weeks. Thank you.
Thank you, Jen, for nice, nice presentation. So, anyone asked you any question regarding last 3 trials?
So Jan,
Yes, sir.
Dr. Uday is there.
Yes,
So
sir.
if you go with the therapy trial, na,
Yes, sir.
they use actually the FDG pad and as well as the PSMA pad. So why did they use the FDG pad? What is the advantage of using the FDG PET scan? Why not just like a vision trial, they use the PSMA pad for the ones. And here, what they did, they use PSMA pad and FDG pad every time actually
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
to assess the metastatic remaining metastatic burden of progression or whatever.
Yes, sir.
So, what is the use of what is the advantage of using the FDG actually?
Sir, maybe they wanted to comment on the, they had used the eligibility criteria as SUV max of 20 and 10, sir. So maybe they wanted to apply that in this trial. Functioning of the tumor.
So that can be done with simply with the SU max can be done with the PSMA also.
Yes, sir.
I think it may be how many centers they have included in this trial?
11 centers, sir.
Yeah, so if you probably go through into the details, probably in many centers it may be possible that PSM PET scan was not available. So every center has done with their own availability and protocol. That may be one reason that it was not same across all the centers.
No, Sanjay.
Hmm?
No. They actually enroll only those centers which are doing the PSM actually. So they actually standardize those. If they found that that particular center has standardized this PSMA or FDG PET, then they took these centers only. So, and what happens if suppose FDG PET is not showing, or FDG PET is showing and PSM is not showing? So, if there is any discordant,
Yes, sir. They lost 28% patients because of this.
Yeah, so they didn't include those kind of patients actually. So this is the question you should for your homework. Okay,
Yes.
you should go and just check it, and you can talk to the nuclear medicine people. They can answer it very well. Okay.
And what was the number of deaths you said in this study?
Number of deaths. Sir, overall survival is yet to be studied, sir. 90 deaths have occurred but none of it has been related directly to lutetium assay. The analysis of overall survival is yet to be published.
After 170 deaths?
170 deaths, then only they will publish, sir. Though that analysis power is not yet reached.
Till now 90 deaths occurred?
Yes, sir. 90 deaths have occurred.
So they have not mentioned in which group the number of deaths?
No, sir. They have not mentioned.
Okay.
So one more question, Jen.
Yes, sir.
So suppose if this therapy get approved, okay, if it does come into the guideline, so where would it be? Do you guess whether it will be approved for the castration naive metastatic prostate cancer, or it is going to approve for the CRPC? At what level before giving the androgen receptor blocker or after taxanes? So,
Sir,
where do you think it is going to be?
Sir, there are trials where they are studying upfront lutetium also without giving abiraterone and docetaxel, but they are not yet. Vision trial is far ahead of everyone right now. So first, if anything is to be approved, it will be approved after second line failure, sir. After docetaxel and abiraterone have failed. Then later on, we might get upfront lutetium later on down the line, but that will take time, sir.
Yeah, if you see the trials, I think this is going to be in the second line, most probably CRPC.
Yes.
Actually, FDA usually approve anything on the basis of the best available evidence.
Yeah.
So best available evidence is vision trial. So according to the trial entry criteria or enrollment, they have taken after failure of second line therapy. So if once FDA will approve, they will approve in the same manner. Until you get another study that upfront lutetium is again level 1 evidence on upfront lutetium. So as of now, even if it's FDA approved, it will approve after failure of second line therapy.
Yeah. So right now, what we are doing actually, so the patient has got AbbVie, Enja, or docetaxel, and he has progressed. So then you can add it. Okay, at that time.
Yes, before adding as second chemotherapy, second taxane, we can add probably lutetium.
Yes,
If it fails, then the second chemotherapy. Maybe it will come like this.
yes, sir.
So
And
there,
that-
now the things have changed. You give leuprolide and the either docetaxel or one of these Enza or AbbVie as a first line. So
Yes.
we have to look at the timeline also in this article. Probably one has to see more in details. Then only we can decide, because last 3 years it has changed. What we used to call it as a second line, first line, second line. Now the first and second line, as previously existed, have been merged. So that change is there in the guidelines. So we need to look at it, once again, with this background.
Sir, in CRPC, basically now that is a metastatic prostate cancer treatment, what we are discussing.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, now here we are talking about CRPC. So CRPC, after CRPC, if we started in metastatic with combination therapy like anti-androgen plus any of other abiraterone or some chemotherapy, and then reach to CRPC, then we will add as a first line therapy in CRPC with the different agent. Like if you are abiraterone, we will give chemotherapy. So then second line therapy. So we are talking in this context is CRPC, that is metastatic prostate cancer.
Yeah, so the same thing has changed. No? Now the CRPC itself, the definition, you have already given the anti-androgen and the
One of other therapy, right?
one of the other therapies. That's what I am saying.
Right.
And the patients who were enrolled in this trial, that is what we need to understand, that they were having the previous protocol. Is that right?
Yes, yes, sir.
No, sir. No, sir.
They were following the previous standard. They were already they had received abiraterone and enzalutamide. And
No, sir. What sir is asking,
Ah.
whether this patient has received additional therapy at the time of metastatic
At the time of
cancer.
CRPC, or they were having this combination in the
When they have started the enrollment.
They have started the enrollment when they are progressing.
No.
After,
Year of enrollment 2018.
2018, March 2018, the trial has started. It has started, sir.
So at the time of March 2018, I think the FDG approved the additional therapy in approximately 2016 or 2017.
It was in 2017, I think.
2017 or 16. So maybe some of patients that you have to read, some of patient has received how they have used the timeline. Probably some of patient has received both treatment, and probably few of them are just received ADT at the level of metastatic.
Right. So that is what we need to look at.
Yes.
Okay, Neeraj sir.
Yes. Okay, it is a beautiful presentation. Dr. Zain has been able to concisely depict what are the latest methods, and I think it's a good presentation.
Thank you, sir.
Now we can go ahead with the further programs. I think I thank Dr. Surekha, Dr. Anish, and everybody for their cooperation and in making this UA program a beautiful one. Thank you very much.
You want to give some concluding remarks, sir?
No, I think it was a good presentation, and basically in future also we need to look at the content of the article, the journal in which they are presented, and whether they are contemporary. So if we look at all these three angles, I think the article chosen was quite reasonable and quite good. It should give some new message and some new insights also to the postgraduates and faculty, means all of us. And I think we have discussed that part as well in this presentation. So I think I congratulate the executives of UAU to have started something new and different, and which should be carried on with the efforts from all other institutions. I think we need to, Dr. Neeraj and Dr. Vijay Bora, they need to do a little bit more of kind of advertisement or
Yes.
inspire people means to come, because I think we did not have many postgraduates this time. So, but we'll have, because this is only the beginning, many might not have known about it also. So, but it was good and great. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. So we can conclude this session in time. So it is 9:59 now. Neeraj sir, we can conclude, sir.
Very nice, Dr. Sanjay. We should be able to now enroll other people also into it, and we'll have a good program. We'll discuss it over as to the time schedule of the other programs, and then we can make it a part of a routine activity. Thank you very much. Right.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.